Nothing is getting done for Canadians right now.
I've got quite the show for you today. Welcome back to Moose and Moose. My name's David. In today's top stories, we've got some results here of the Saskatchewan election. We've got a story breaking here showing how veterans have potentially been paying too much over the past many years. A CRA scam that's had millions of dollars being flushed to scammers, our tax dollars. We've got Vasi Capellos having one of the most bizarre conversations with Karina Gould. This is good stuff. Among some other stuff, let's jump into this. First off, Saskatchewan election here. Scott Moe, he won. So yeah, NDP didn't win. They did gain some points though, but good to see that Saskatchewan hasn't lost their mind like British Columbia has. Fifth consecutive term for a Saskatchewan party. Moving on, we've got this one here. Daniel Smith launching a legal challenge of Trudeau's carbon tax. They're basically suing the Trudeau government. They're taking them to court over their carbon tax exemption given to Atlantic Canadians who use home heating oil to heat their homes. Since Albertans don't really use home heating oil, it's not fair. That's basically what they're saying here. A vast majority of Albertans use natural gas and they're forced to pay carbon tax. So this should be interesting to see what happens with this. I'll bring you the updates when we've got more from this story. Jumping ahead, we've got this. Veterans may have paid too much for long-term care for years due to federal error. Misrepresentation of federal rules may have caused tens of thousands of Canadian veterans to be overcharged for long-term care since at least 2005. Veterans in this program pay a maximum of $1,236 monthly for long-term care, and it basically shows here long-term care rate in Northwest Territories for this year is $976, meaning veterans could have been overcharged more than $260 per month, or about $3,000 per year. This is not how to treat Canadian veterans. Small number of veterans in long-term care, about 1,500. 10 years ago, he said there was far more of them, between 6,000 and 14,000. Next up, we got an update here on the BC election. We've got this fool here, David Eby. So he's officially won 47 seats after the recount. This is also coming at the same time that it's found out that one of his advisors has been directly linked to China. I wonder how David Eby supporters feel about that. It says here the BC NDP securing a lead in the Surrey-Guildford riding today flipped the seat to secure the razor-thin majority. And voila, just like that, 66,000 absentee mail-in ballots have arrived just in time for British Columbia vote recount. Yeah, so the recount lasted like a week and a half, and all these magical votes just appeared, and suddenly David Eby wins. The whole thing stinks of corruption. We've also got an update here on this story with India. It's a senior Modi cabinet minister linked to India supported bad times in Canada. So this guy here, Amit Saha, was basically confirmed Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister David Morrison has confirmed a report that Canada is alleging an Indian cabinet minister and close advisor to Minister Modi ordered intelligence gathering operations targeting Canadians. So this is a story that was leaked to the Washington Post. Also the information that the RCMP would not release. So Melanie Joly just sent it over to the Washington Post as damage control for Trudeau's image. So basically they're pointing the finger at this guy as their evidence. We've also got this. Poland arrests 4 people involved in alleged attempt to send camouflaged boom booms to Canada. If things weren't already bad enough with all the crime that Justin Trudeau's brought in, now we've got literal explosives being sent here. What's also been explosive is Telesat Lightspeed. You know this corporation, Mark Carney is friends with the CEO. Well, look at the stock price. See this? This is where they got the investment. Somebody definitely made some money there. I wonder who has investments in this company. Anyone want to take a guess? Before we get to the Vasi Capellos interview, which is wild. First, we got this one of Justin Trudeau on this radio interview. And he, as it says here, Trudeau says the only thing he needs to change is to engage with the people better. Just listen to Captain Schmuck here.
So many Liberals are very, very passionate about saying, well, listen, we've been behind the polls for quite a while now. Do we need to do something radical to change things? My perspective is, yes, we need to make significant changes in how we engage with Canadians over the coming months, but that is part and parcel of what an election campaign is.
So just engaging, not actually making this country better and undoing your garbage policies that's destroying Canada. Those are fine. Keep taking the carbon tax dollars, just engage differently.
As we're approaching an election year, we're going to have to make sure that we are very clearly articulating to Canadians what's at stake, what choices they have, and what the plan is for a transformed world.
Transformed world, Mr. Globalist here. This guy hasn't laid out a plan for what Canada is aside from his personal piggy bank.
Who has a better handle on what the solutions that are going to help Canadians for the coming years? That's what elections should be about. And right now, people are just consuming slogans and disinformation and not really thinking about politics. They're thinking about how they're going to make ends meet, how they're going to pay their rent, how they're going to afford their groceries, how they're going to stay out from under the global conflicts that are hitting us from every side.
Oh, right. That's right. It was the global conflicts. That's definitely not this carbon tax that's absolutely crushing our economy. No. It's not all this inflationary spending. No, that has nothing to do with it either. This guy loves talking about global this and global that. I'm sure he's got carbon tax Carney nibbling on his ear at night. I'll take your word for it. That is definitely not the problem. Everyone I know can't stand the sound of his voice. Most won't watch or listen to him anymore. I try to limit it for you guys. It's only 1 minute. Even looking down, everyone I know and talk to can't stand the sound of his voice and gag when they hear it. His voice is vomit-inducing. This comment section is hilarious. Nah, that ain't it, bro. We cannot stomach your face or voice anymore. You make us physically sick. It's election time. I can't even click on clips of him. I go straight to the comments to get an idea of what's going on. Well, you just, every comment on here is absolutely savage. I don't want to hear him anymore. Ever again. Never, ever, never ASAP. So next up, we got this interviewer, Vasi Kapelos and Karina Gould. She's asked about the Bloc. So the Bloc has pulled their support today. Nothing special there. He's just saying, yeah, they're now going to be talking with the Conservatives about supporting them. The Bloc needs more people with the Conservatives to take down the government, though. So we'll have to see if those people flip the Liberals, as well as maybe some independents, and the Green Party's not going to flip. But basically still need Jagmeet to flip unless all the Liberals go with the Bloc and the Conservatives. But so that's where this interview kind of picks up here. She just rambles for the first bit. We don't need to look at that. Then she starts getting into the SDTC scandal, and you won't believe that she goes on the attack at Vasi, basically kind of making threats, kind of empty threats about her job and the company. It's wild.
So if I'm a Canadian watching tonight, I've heard Minister Guilbeault say we're not doing it, and I've just heard you say, well, we're having conversations about largely supporting seniors. Like, what am I to walk away from? As a senior in this country, if I'm wondering whether your government is going to do more for me in this specific area, what is the answer to that question, and why are you unwilling to provide it?
Well, so Vashti, as I've said, our government has been very supportive of seniors since the day we took office for the last 9 years, and we're going to continue to support seniors. We know.
So she's going to word salad here, but basically Vasi is talking about the OAS support the Bloc wanted for their deal.
That, it's important to ensure that seniors are well supported into their retirement, and that's something that we're going to continue to do. So, that's our position. That's been our position, and it continues to be.
Okay, I'm just going to point out that the substance of my question was on this specific measure, not supporting seniors writ large, and you didn't answer specifically, but I'm going to move on and ask about whether or not the Bloc's threat to take down your government will ever come to fruition in any way. And in essence, what I would like to ascertain from you is whether or not you are prepared to either give those documents over that the House ordered you to, that has sort of resulted in the current situation in the House of Commons, or work with another party. Are you working with any other party to force closure so that the issue moves on and you're free to introduce your own agenda?
Her facial expression here says a lot. That she is like feeling really stressed here. She keeps putting on that fake smile. It's easy to read this woman like a book.
So again, those conversations with all parties in the House continue. I speak with my House counterparts on a regular basis. We feel very strongly that what the House of Commons, what the Conservative Party of Canada is doing, goes well beyond the regular business and what the House should be doing when it comes to demanding these documents. The House has the right to demand documents for its own use. The question is whether they should be doing it to give directly to a third party, in this case, the RCMP. Look, both the former law clerk and now just as recently as today, Steve Chaplin also said that this is an abuse of power, and this does go beyond the reasonable limits of the House of Commons, and it's time for the House to accept that it made a mistake in this regards and to...
Abuse of power, really? You guys are being investigated for $400 million being stolen, our dollars. You're talking about abuse of power? You don't even want to hand over documents to the police? Like, is anyone else... This is absolutely bonkers. It really is bonkers. What kind of clown world are we living in now, where the government doesn't want to hand over documents to the police and says that's abuse of power?
Move on. We've accepted the ruling of the Speaker that this should go to the Procedure and House Affairs Committee. That has been our position from day one. The Conservatives are the ones that are filibustering their own motion now because they don't want this to go to committee, because they don't want to have those experts on the record to say that they are abusing their power and trying to get around due process for police. So at this point in time, it's pretty much only Conservative members of Parliament that are debating this motion. They've been debating it for...
So Vassie's facial expressions here, after doing so many of these videos, it's pretty easy to read her. This is her, I've got something in the chamber here and I'm about to blast you with it. That's what that face says to me.
For a number of days now. And at the end of the day, we are going to stand up for Canadians. And in fact, I would expect, Vassy, that if the situation were reversed, if the Conservatives were in government, I would want them to take the same approach, because parliamentarians should not be able to use the House of Commons to go on, the attack of Canadian citizens or organizations for their own political vendetta.
Well, I would just say, look, I think there are questions for the Conservatives about the tactics they're employing, but I spoke to the RCMP's commissioner about the concerns that you and your colleagues in the Liberal Party have raised about the precedent that this would set. He has, and he did say, look, I'm not sure if this stuff is going to stand up in court, if we're going to use it, but he has a USB key, he said, and he's exhausting every option he has before he gets to that. So there is a world in which you hand over the documents, the RCMP has them in their possession, and they don't use them. Why are you not willing to entertain that, particularly at a time when you're trying to tell Canadians you're the only party in a position to work for them, to get things done for them, and instead nothing is getting done for Canadians right now?
Because we do not believe that politicians should be telling the police who and what to investigate. That is...
She's so arrogant. She talks like she's talking to Canadians and Vassy on her own show like she's 2 years old. Because this and that and da-da-da. Vassy's not going to take that.
But they're not. The commissioner said that they're going to make their own decisions.
We are. Yeah, but the Conservatives right now are using their parliamentary powers to try and do just that. And that is something that is unacceptable, and it goes well beyond the separation of powers that we have in this country. And I think that's something that's very important to stand against, because if this precedent goes through, who is it next? I mean, it could be very well CTV, for example. We know how the Conservatives felt about, the report that came out on them, and, the fact that they, could go after CTV or any organization to compel their documents and give them over to the police.
Are you kidding me? She's threatening her, saying that if we do this, then Poilievre can come after CTV now. She's making these hollow, empty, stupid threats. This is quite possibly the dumbest thing I've ever seen her say. There is something in those documents that she would make those hollow threats to Vassy on her own show. What are they hiding in those documents?
This is the will of Parliament.
Yeah, but that's
exercising.
exactly.
But Parliament has decided
but if
to
the
provide
Conservatives,
to you.
Yeah, and they could do that if this precedent goes through with any Canadian or organization in the country. And that is something that should send alarm bells up to every citizen and every organization.
Vassy's not believing a single word out of her mouth. Look at that.
In Canada. It is one thing for Parliament to ask for these documents for their own study and for their own use. It is something entirely different for them to hand them over to the police. The current law clerk, when asked about it at the Public Accounts Committee, said that he concurs with the concerns raised by the RCMP commissioner and the Auditor General in terms of the precedent that this would set.
Yeah.
So
I'm
Parliament,
just putting out there that the
needs to be very careful
in the interview. He thought he had a way to deal with it, is what I'm saying.
Right, but he should never be put in that position. We should never be in a position where we are compromising the potential independence and work of the police, because politicians, conservative politicians, have decided that that's the route that they want to take. So he shouldn't have been put in that position in the first place, because it compromises the trust Canadians have in their police institutions. It compromises his potential ability to have evidence in court, stand up in a court of law, and it compromises the due process that Canadians come to expect every single day. He should never be put in that position in the first place. It is wrong, and I would expect that if the Conservatives were in government, they would be acting the same way, because at the end of the day, our job as a government is to protect the charter rights of Canadians and to stand up for Canadian democracy.
I know
She is frightened. They're hiding something. This is a look of someone who desperately doesn't want to go to jail for what they've done. What are you hiding?
you have to get back in for a vote. I just point out he implied that he did not have to use it should he not think it would stand up in court. Just really quickly, if you can't get the support from other parties to move closure on this and get back to actually Parliament working, is prorogation still off the table?
Yes.
Okay, I'll leave it on that note.
I call BS. Look at this fake smile. You can read her like a book. Her eyebrows are all like, yes, liar. Prorogation's like right at the front of the table. Let's get real.
Minister, appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
There's that fake smile. One of the fakest people on the Liberal bench.
Thanks, Vashti. Take care.
So great questions by Vashti here, just pushing them. Karina really dug into a deep pit of nowhere, bringing up the law clerk and this and that. You should have never been put into this position. It's like, no, you guys shouldn't have stolen our money. That's number one. So she's trying to use anyone and everyone she can as a shield to protect herself and Trudeau and the Liberals from what they've done. Blame the Conservatives, put the law clerk in front there. Then she uses the RCMP. Oh, we don't want to compromise the RCMP. It's anyone and everyone can be a shield for the Liberals. They are most definitely hiding something. The question is how scathing are those documents? What do they reveal? Because if there wasn't a problem with those documents, they would just hand them over. Like, no problem, whatever, go ahead, let the RCMP look at them. They wouldn't have the government not operate for multiple weeks just out of spite, just to stick it to Poilievre so he doesn't get his way. Their image is getting absolutely tarnished by not operating the government. There's no way they'd let this go on this long out of just sheer spite. Let's take a look at these comments. How does Karina still have a job? Good question. Karina couldn't hit water if she fell out of a boat. This woman has no soul, absolutely repulsive. Karina should update her resume, time to find another job. She sounds like a robot, never answers the question. As a senior, I'm sick of listening to her. What is she hiding? Wow, pro-gaslighting. Yeah, the real interesting part of this was the whole threat on CTV. They're like, well, if we do this, then they'll come after you guys. Like, that's unbelievable. It tells a lot about not only her character, what a terrible person she is, but just she's willing to say anything, trying to scare Vashti from even asking the questions anymore to get her to drop the whole line of questioning. All right, we've got a couple other ones here. It says Brampton is now the craziest city in Canada by far. So what you're about to see is a home invasion, and the cops are trying to stop it, and this is nuts.
Hands up! Off the car! Hey! Going. Don't fucking move! Shoot him! Don't move! Hands up! Hands up!
I don't have the daughter. It's supposed to be inside the house.
So that's basically where it ends. I mean, you would think step one is just to put one right into the tire so the truck can't move. It's a home invasion. Why don't they just pew the guy in the leg? He won't expire, but he deserved it. Put him in jail versus now they're out in the loose and they can cause more harm. Oh, we've got part 2 here. So they did get one guy, the guy that was running away, it looks like. I don't think they got the guy in the truck. Should have just pew-pewed the tire. Next up, we've got a junkie that is enjoying some time at the playground. David Eby's British Columbia, folks. All the people who voted NDP, this is what you voted for. Congratulations. So we've got this one here. Canada Revenue Agency has been massively underreporting privacy breaches. So basically, there's $190 million that scammers have gotten away with because of CRA.
Senator Gould. Yesterday, Canadians learned that Canada Revenue Agency has been massively underreporting privacy breaches that have paid out millions to scammers. CRA previously told the Privacy Commissioner 113 privacy breaches had occurred over the past 4 years. They now admit the real number is 31,000. 113 to 31,000. Impacting 62,000 taxpayers. CRA also admitted it's authorized $190 million in payments connected to these breaches between 2020 and earlier this month. Leader, this is absolutely not worth the cost. When did the NDP Liberal government learn that CRA hasn't been telling Canadians the truth? And is that $190 million gone for good? And can you confirm that I did not previously give you this question?
Senator Gould.
I can confirm that you have never given me a question in advance.
So Mark Gould is always like, I tire of this question, I tire. That's why he gave him a little shot on that.
And I would be shocked if you would. That's not your job. Look, my understanding is that in the current context and the story that I guess it was CBC that broke this story, these were breaches not of the CRA but of H&R Block, if I recall. I've been informed that in the event of the fraudulent use of personal data, CRA, the agency, directly contacts the individuals targeted by the fraudsters, carries out close follow-ups to ensure the monitoring and security of these accounts. And indeed, the government has been clear that combating all forms of tax fraud is an important responsibility of the CRA. And the CRA is unfortunately a prime target for fraud attempts, and the security measures that are put in place are constantly reinforced to counter these attempts. I've been informed that processes and procedures are in place to quickly respond and to mitigate threats to taxpayer information and taxpayer account.
Senator Platt.
Well, we were all equally surprised that CBC finally did their job. When the Minister of National Revenue was asked about this yesterday in the other place, she said CRA's system are solid and robust. How can this incompetent government say that with a straight face? Can you say that with a straight face, given what we've learned? Leader, has this fraud been referred to the RCMP for investigation? Yes or no?
I'm not aware of what steps may have been taken or will be taken with regard to the breach that the CBC reported. But again, it's important for Canadians to understand that this was not a breach of CRA's security, but rather of the tax advising company whose data was in fact was breached.
This is unbelievable. Everything the government controls and operates, just unbelievable. It's just corrupt and broken. What a waste of money. You know, I used to have an educational YouTube channel I spent 8 years building, and it got hacked by a scammer, and then YouTube deleted it. They impersonated another company, and then it got a trademark strike, and YouTube just deleted it. And I called the government, and I pleaded with them. Is there anything I can do? Can I even just write off the loss of the business? No, you get nothing. You don't get the business back. There's no insurance. There's no nothing. There's no financial support. Nothing. Meanwhile, we got people coming in from all corners of the globe. They get thousands of dollars per month. I've been paying taxes for 20 years. I get nothing after I was hacked. And now you got $190 million getting paid out to scammers. Seems like I was in the wrong business. The business of being an honest, ethical taxpayer doesn't seem to pay too well in this country. Being a scammer, scumbag, and fraudster in Canada seems to pay pretty well. Jeebus, 31,000 breaches reported as only 113. Yeah, like, it's beyond corrupt. It's too much to hope for that someone is fired and perhaps charged. Shameful, these numbers are staggering. I'm still waiting for the government to take responsibility for the mess and take concrete steps to fix it. And no one is charged or fined. Of course not. Crime pays in Canada. Whether you're a car thief or a digital thief, crime pays in Canada. Jumping over to my group, let's see what memes we've got today. Oh yeah, we've got this one here. This is a tiny house village. I believe this was in Nova Scotia. Yeah, Nova Scotia. This is the first one. It's opening up in just a few days. You can see here, it's a tiny village. That is a tiny village. Now, for getting the housing crisis back on track, I think this is the right direction. Obviously, we don't want all houses in Canada to be like this, but like for housing close to universities or student housing, or maybe an old folks home or something, if it's designed like that, you know, minimal stairs, downsizing, this is not a bad idea, but this can't be the Canadian dream for housing, because these places are tiny. And the thing too, like, how much are these? $500,000 a piece? If these are built in a factory and you can buy with the land like $100,000, then yeah, like that's a solution. There isn't a price tag on here, and sadly, I don't think it's going to be $100,000 or even $200,000 or $300,000. It's going to be more than that. Andy posted my video here on my second channel if you want to check this out. The train station in Montreal, completely overrun with Palestinian Hamas loyalists. Trains weren't going, people were stuck. This is unreal. What is Justin Trudeau's net favorability in the provinces? So Atlantic Canada, Quebec, Ontario, obviously Alberta is going to be number one. I'm seeing a lot of negative numbers here. Got this in Hamilton, a crosswalk paying respects to our veterans. Pretty cool. Sean Fraser, you look more intelligent, not much more, with your mouth kept shut. The guy's been such a complete disaster for our country. Everything the guy touches just turns to garbage, withers away. I don't even know why he stands up in the House of Commons and tries to pump his own tires like he's some sort of hero. Like he stands there like a sultan, like some sort of king that everyone should revere, but he's just an absolute loser. Oh, look, government caused another problem. Guess we need some more government. Feds say household cats are an ecological peril. Canadians keep 8.5 million cats nationwide, which Environment and Climate Change Canada considers to be an ecological peril for migratory birds. Come anywhere near my cat and we're going to have some problems, Skibo. Mr. Speaker, I'm down. That's going to wrap up this one. I couldn't believe that Karina Gould just went on the attack on Vassy. He's like, whoa, you know, Poilievre might come after you now. Like, it's just unbelievable. She's gaslighting and trying to deflect, using the law clerk as the shield, and the RCMP. It's just, they got something that stinks really bad in those documents they don't want anyone to get a whiff of. Are they planning on just trying to coast this out until Christmas and not have the government operate at all?